while the incident of test made the nation proud of its scientific capacity and capability, the Bharatiya Janata Party, its sister organizations,
By point of order, all those who agreed to extension are leaving. And we who did not agree to the extension of till 7 o'clock are sitting over here. Now what is this? My friend has rightly pointed that out.
All those people who agree to sit here are going out. May I request them to kindly sit here? Mr. Rajveer ji, come front and sit here. Come to the front and occupy some seat. Ah. Yes. Now.
Mr. Chairman, I'll repeat, while the incident of test made the nation proud of its scientific capacity and capability, the Bharatiya Janata Party, its sister organizations, and some of the ministers have made a complete mess of the situation with grave fallout on socio-politico-economic life of the people of this country and abroad. At the outset, our hearty congratulations to the scientists and the engineers and the technologists who have shown their skills and have made the nation proud. The achievement is the result of an encouragement that has been given to the scientists and the technologists by successive governments over the decades. What has failed to impress any of us, despite what has been said by certain friends on the other side, is as to what is the credit that the government is taking for. The government has come into power on the 19th of March. And Mr. Abul Kalam and Dr. Chidambaram both on the 14th of May have said in a press conference that they got the clearance on the 11th of April. 11th of April. Now, what great things have been done by this government within the 22 days so as they could claim the credit. I'll come to this fact, I'll come to the point. On that decision, I'll come. The decision could be a misadventure also. But I'll come to that point slightly later. So far as the substantial part of the scientific work is concerned, this government can in no way take the credit. They have only taken the decision for the clearance. And for that, they would like to have the credit. To me, it appears that so far as the threat perceptions are concerned, which have been sought to be made out, either in the letter of the Prime Minister to President Clinton, or later to the head of the states, head of the governments of G8 countries, that perception, threat perception of either from Pakistan or from China does not seem to be neither here nor there. The situation that prevailed earlier to 19th of March prevailed even on the 11th of April. No new circumstances developed which should force this government to take the decision and say that there is a threat perception from Pakistan and China. To me, it appears that this is a clear case of a bravado approach on the part of the government, leading to misadventure, leading to unfolded consequences, untold consequences, which might affect the socio-political economy of this country. While I'll go into the details slightly later, to me it appears that this decision has been taken to silence the various allies of the government who had been raising different issues from time to time. And secondly, to divert the attention of the people of this country temporarily from the problems that beset them, so as the entire nation is diverted towards a euphoria which this government sought to create on the basis of the test that has been carried out. It has already been said that the governments in the past have not given the clearance. They have said in 83, 95, I would not like to go into the reasons, but certain obvious, compelling reasons must have forced the government of the day to take a decision not to go ahead with the test. Shri Devagowda, who has written the letter immediately after the test to the Prime Minister, has categorically said, and I quote, I decline to give clearance for demonstrating India's nuclear capability, not because of the adverse reaction from the international community, but on account of my concern for improving the economic situation, unquote. He was more concerned with the poverty of the people. He was more concerned to raise the standard of life of the people. He thought that this would be a case of a misadventure at that time. He did not permit it because it had its own reactions and its own fallouts. Where we find fault with the present government in giving the clearance is the clear lack of perception evolved before the test of the diverse fallouts that are possible in the wake of the test. Secondly, the manner in which those in the government and the sister organizations of the Bharatiya Janata Party have tried to communalize the issue. Thirdly, irresponsible utterances on the part of various persons in the government and outside, leading to corrode the atmosphere in the region. And fourthly, the lack of substitute policy on the nuclear doctrine, which we had been pursuing for a long time, and without any substitute policy, a plunge has been taken, creating a chaotic situation which has a tremendous effects on the larger interests of the nation. On the question as to why the clearance was given to the test, when the question was posed, two personalities, one, the political advisor of the Prime Minister, and secondly, the first speaker on behalf of the Treasury benches has said, you must first explain as to why you chose to go ahead with the test in 1974, while certain answers have been given. I would like to make the position absolutely clear as I see it. In 1971, Pakistan forced war on us. Bangladesh was created. After the Bangladesh was created, we had gone for the Simla Agreement. And my friend, the first speaker from the Treasury benches, has said, notwithstanding the Simla Agreement, a lot of saber rattling was going on the part of the Pakistani leaders, which we himself tried to explain. We had elections, parliamentary elections. Then we had also the assembly elections in 1972. And at that time, we should not forget that when the war was going on, President Nixon has sent the 7th Fleet into the Bangladesh waters only to threaten us, to show their power, and to see that India gets afraid of that action. Now, in such circumstances, when the political leaders in Pakistan were taking a stance of saber rattling, when President Nixon had shown his strength and tried to browbeat us by sending the 7th Fleet in the Bangla waters, it was absolutely necessary in that background. Though we have made the position absolutely clear that the test was for the peaceful purposes, forgetting the part of peaceful purposes, I take their argument that it was a similar test as the one that was conducted on the 11th of May, as also on the 13th of May. Taking that argument as true, in the background of what I have stated, the manner Pakistani leaders were behaving, as spoken to by the first speaker on the Treasury benches, and also the manner in which President Nixon tried to show his strength and tried to browbeat our nation, it was necessary that in self-respect, we should have shown what we were. And Indira Gandhi proceeded with the preparation for that. And when she was ready, when our scientists were ready, in 1974, deliberate test was undertaken so as to show the confidence to the entire nation and to tell the big power that tried to browbeat us in 1971 that you need not browbeat us. We are also a power to be reckoned. But such a situation does not prevail now. What is the situation today? On the 11th of May and 13th of May, there was no such situation. What prevailed in March, what prevailed in 96 and what prevailed in 97, prevailed on the 11th of April also. And therefore there was nothing new. That is why I said that it is the indulgence of a bravado spirit or a total misadventure on the part of the government, which might place the nation into a great jeopardy, economically, socially, and politically. I would immediately bring to your kind notice, sir, that the decision, in my view, the government has not taken any review before they came to this conclusion of giving a clearance as to the military strategy that has got to be decided. The diplomatic offensive was absent, and the economic fallout was never taken into consideration in any form. The United States of America, Germany, Nordic countries like Denmark, Netherlands, Japan, UK have now come forth with sanctions. Russia yesterday has condemned the test. They had been keeping quiet for all along, but yesterday they came forth with this statement. Now, what is the fallout of our misadventure, I'll call it? The fallout is, as Chandrasekhar ji has rightly said, there is a tremendous fall of value of rupee. Already it has cost 41 rupees for a dollar. The inflation is rising. It has already crossed the 6 point. The exports, if you kindly consider the exports, they are dwindling. This year, it was said that it is only 2.6% growth as compared to the last year. Now the exports are already dwindling. Along with that, the GDP growth is the least in the last 5 years. Now you friends must have read this morning the newspapers, the World Bank agenda of power assistance of $1 billion, which was to be considered yesterday, has been postponed. And the newspapers say the postponement means postponement forever. Sir, this book has been published by possibly under the directions of the government, by the Parliament Library. They have given us for reference, and it has been the Economic Times, New Delhi, dated 15th May 1998, categorically says that the fallout is not going to be a chicken feed. It is to the tune of $21 billion. The sanctions, etc., are going to affect the nation to the tune of $21 billion. Equally, on the question of the sanctions by the United States, they have given a pitiable report. Economic Times has gone on record to say that it might affect the entire economic system of our nation. The various companies which are trying to work out their own schemes in this country may totally stop the flow of money. Along with that, it has also been analyzed beautifully in Economic Times again on 19th May 1989 that it will not only hit the rupee, but the stocks. It will affect very badly the inflation and also the interest rates. Those details have been given. I am already saying that it is on 19th May 1998. Economic Times makes the analysis beautifully. Now, just a moment. I have already said that. If you have not heard it, please hear me further. Then, sir, if this is going to be the fallout economically of the sanctions that have been imposed or that are continuing to be imposed, what happens to the masses of this country? What happens to their lives? The lives of the teeming millions? What happens to the socio-politico-economic life of the people? It will be badly shattered. It will be tremendously affected. That is where I said it appears to be a case of a total misadventure which has been undertaken in a bravado spirit. Now, having said this, the manner in which this issue of test has been sought to be communalized is rather unfortunate. I have already said that it is more to silence the rumblings in the allies of the government. This misadventure was undertaken. The BJP's partisan euphoria, as a result of which they unnecessarily tried to hijack the credit of the country for the last 4 decades old program, and the manner in which their party has tried to take advantage by saying that they celebrate it as a Shaurya Divas. Not even the allies were taken into confidence. And as Chandrasekhar ji has rightly said, the Chief Minister of Rajasthan has gone on record to say that the Pokhran soil will be taken and a Rath Yatra would be gone ahead and it would be deposited in all the principal townships of the country. Is it not communalizing the issue? A national issue is sought to be communalized. Not only this, sir, what about the VHP, the sister organization? The sister organization of the BJP. This organization has said that they will go ahead with a temple called the Shakti Peeth for the consecration of such temple. The water would be carried from different religious places. Has anybody from the government condemned this? That is where I said that the sister organizations are going ahead in such a speed and in such a manner which will affect the national interest. This is where the whole thing is sought to be communalized. And Mr. Shingal, who happens to be a live wire in the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, has gone on record in his interview, press conference in Patna, which has been extensively quoted. What he said is, Vishwa Hindu Parishad Chief, I am quoting it from the report, Vishwa Hindu Parishad Chief Ashok Singhal has described the recent nuclear tests by India as an emphatic assertion of Hindu pride and favored constitutional amendment to declare India a Hindu nation. Would anybody condemn this type of utterances? It has happened more than a week. This is 24th of May 1998 paper. Now this type of things are going on. The issue which is in fact a matter of national rejoicing, if it has to be, this is being communalized. And these are the instances which show that if you would like to communalize an issue of this nature, then what is the fallout of it? I have already said as to how the economic life is sought to be affected. Now the leaders are trying to communalize it. What happens to the other communities? Many communities will sulk back. And even it will, yes, even it will go, it will de-energize or disappoint even a person like Abdul Kalam, who is the live wire in this whole test and one of the greatest of the scientists that we have been able to have. And nobody tries to even say a word about this type of misadventured expressions which are coming from the sister organizations. Sir, the Prime Minister, in his letter to Mr. Clinton, has categorically brought out that the threat is from China and Pakistan, and has gone on record to say in his letter that the series of tests are limited in number and pose no danger to any country which has no inimical intentions towards India. He was trying to write a letter to Clinton. Obviously, he wanted to give a certificate to the United States of America that we have no bad intentions so far as that country is concerned. Equally, when the Prime Minister has been pleased to write the letter to the heads of the G8 countries, there also he said that India was surrounded by countries having nuclear weapons, and the threat perception he referred to was towards Pakistan and China. Now I'm rather surprised, because when the statement today has been made by the Prime Minister, what he has said in the statement, I'll just read in paragraph 13 of his statement.
शिव शंकर जी, मैं आपको रोक नहीं रहा हूँ, लेकिन याद दिला रहा हूँ और भी आपके दल के लोग बोलने वाले हैं। मैं रोक नहीं रहा हूँ, लेकिन उनका और भी बोलने वाले हैं।
नहीं, मैं बहुत जल्दी।
आपने कहा आप हमारा नहीं।
These tests, that is what the Prime Minister's statement says. These tests were not directed against any country. Now, on one side, you say that these tests are not directed against any country. On the other, your letters categorically say that there is a threat perception from these countries, and therefore you have to proceed with the test. Now, which statement has to be accepted? The Prime Minister will have to steer the position clear as to what exactly is his intention. Why have they gone for the test? As I said, that the threat perception, if it was there, what was there in 96, 97? It remained on the 11th of April 1998 when you gave the clearance. There is no deterioration in the situation so as to call for an immediate test. Now it is there where the explanation is. This government has to explain only a small portion as to why they have taken the decision for the test and the fallout thereof. Have they taken clear perception as to what is going to be the fallout and what measures they have taken for the purposes of meeting out a situation? Economically, communally, socially, because there is a social divide by virtue of the fact that it has been sought to be communalized. Then politically also, obviously, because of the communalization of the situation, perceptions change. Therefore, what exact measures are sought to be taken, what exact measures were taken earlier, were decided upon, and what would you like to act upon, are the issues that have to be explained to the nation, so that people are satisfied that your intentions were genuine. Having said this, sir, I would like to say one aspect which I was trying to refer to. So far, our policy had been slightly different. What was said, so far as the Prime Minister is concerned, equally the Home Minister has only referred to Pakistan and the Defense Minister to China. Even today's papers also refer to the reference to China. And it has already been said yesterday that the weaponry system has also been developed and it will be made available to the army. This has come in the today's newspapers. Now, in view of this, when there is a pointed reference to China and Pakistan as the main sources of threat to the country's security, it completely upsets the contemporary dimension of the non-alignment, which we had been pursuing for quite a long time. We consistently avoided references to Beijing and Islamabad as the only source of threat to the nation and to our security, but we always expressed Indian concern about the nuclear-laden US base in Diego Garcia, Central Asia, and the Gulf. What I would like to know from the Prime Minister is, have those perceptions changed? And if they have been changed, and if the concentration is only on China and Pakistan, to what benefit we are addressing ourselves? In fact, have we not forced the country into an armed race? Now, Pakistan, notwithstanding the delegation that has already gone to Pakistan, they seem to be preparing themselves for the purpose of the test, leaving aside the test part of it. Now, don't you think that in this region, we have generated a feeling of race for spending on defense? If we are also called upon to invest huge monies in defense, what happens to the development? What happens to the poverty-stricken people? 42% still below the poverty line. What happens to the various developmental activities? This is a matter of concern to the nation. That is why I was saying either it was a case of a misadventure, or in a bravado spirit the action has been taken without foreseeing the consequences which might flow from the action that has been resorted to on 11th of May and the 13th of May. Sir, we have been following a clear nuclear policy for the last 50 years. I'm glad that the Prime Minister has made a very pithy reference about the policy that has been adopted by the successive governments in the last 50 years. He has traced the history right from 1947. And actually, the whole policy is based on the struggle for independence based on non-violence. Non-violence does not mean cowardice. And that is where Mr. Fernandez has rightly quoted Mahatma Gandhi. Now, the policy that we have been pursuing, as late as in 1995, before the International Court of Justice on the status of nuclear weapons in the international law, we have categorically placed certain principles. 6 principles have been laid before them. I need not read them out, but those are the cardinal principles which enable us to still remain in a non-nuclear power, but nonetheless have the authority to make use of the weaponry if and when we need it.
Yes, wind up.
And I'll wind up. Sir, this country had been having its international voice being heard in the international forums because of its moral authority, not because of any military power. We were not a military power. And merely because we have now become the nuclear power, that does not mean we are going to enhance our authority in the international forums. We remain what we are. On the contrary, I feel that our stock will go down. Now, what happens to our policy, which we have adumbrated before the International Court of Justice on the status of the nuclear weapons in the international law? Have we changed that? Equally, as late as in March 1996, in the plenary meeting of the Conference on Disarmament, the Indian Foreign Secretary was telling the delegates, and I quote, "We do not believe that the acquisition of nuclear weapons is essential for national security. We are also convinced that their existence diminishes the international security. We therefore seek the complete elimination."
Kind of, you have taken 40 minutes.
This had been our consistent policy for the last 50 years. The changes had there been, because now today's newspapers have categorically said that the nuclear weapons are being made available to the army. Now, if this be the situation, has the entire approach of ours changed? If so, to what effect? It is unfortunate that the road that we are adopting is a road for destruction. Thank you very much.